Colorado writer of the novel Theft, and Theft is the focus of our March Utah Lit Book Club, and we'll have the discussion later this week. First, though, we're going to have a conversation with BK and ask her a few questions about her novel. Thanks for being here, BK.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Just to get started, can you tell us a little bit about your inspiration for writing the novel in the first place? What prompted the story?
Sure. Writing comes to me in a different way than just pure inspiration. What happens first is I hear a voice. And in my other book, Animal Mineral Radical, I talk about writing as listening. And so I listened to the novel for a long time and before I actually put anything on paper. And through listening to those voices, then I'm able to sort of weave the novel together. So it's not like I have something to say, something that I really want to get across. It's like I'm listening to something. And the first voice that came to me in this was Willa. And I heard her voice and I wrote her character almost exclusively for about 5 or 6 months. And then when I saw those pieces, I saw, Willa, and then eventually I learned that she had a brother. And I was able to piece those together, and then I began to get what would be called inspiration, because I thought, oh, this is about theft. This is about various types of theft. And then I thought, oh, I've got enough mojo to make this into a novel, rather than just a short story, once I had all those pieces together. But it comes to me sort of piecemeal at first. It doesn't come as a great inspiration from some divine source.
What was your process in weaving together the autobiographical pieces as well as the pure invention? How did you work to do that?
Well, I think that a writer has to write about the things that have happened in his or her life, but that doesn't necessarily make the story autobiographical. I think that, like, for instance, my mother did have Parkinson's, but she had it when I was in my 40s, not when I was young. And I learned a lot about Parkinson's through that. And I was able to use that in the story, but as it's written, it doesn't feel autobiographical to me. The mother doesn't feel like my mother. And but the knowledge that I gained about Parkinson's and caring for that particular disease does show through in the novel. And with the brother-sister relationship, I have a brother who I was very close to when we were younger, and I did draw emotionally from that, and that became sort of the emotional basis of what evolved into the story. Then the invention parts, they come from what you do want to say. If the novel is listening, if at first I'm just listening, then at some point I realize that I also have something to say, as in themes. Then the invention comes from how are you going to make those ideas into scenes, into emotional interactions, into story. And that's where the invention starts to come in. So it's all about what you eventually want to get across. And you have to invent in order to do that, because certainly if I told my own life, it would just be boring, But I'm able to, try to say something. Once I start trying to say something, then I have to start inventing.
Well, one of the interesting things and why we've selected this book to talk about in our book club is that it's both about Old West and New West issues as well as about family relationships. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about those themes and why you developed those themes into this novel.
Sure. Old West and New West first?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So as I was writing, actually when I got to the end, when a writer gets to the end of the novel, that's when I think the writer knows what the novel's about. And at least that's what happens for me. So by the time I got to the end, I looked back over it and I went, oh, Zeb is the Old West and Willa is acting like the New West. Not representative of, but just sort of illustrating what I think those two things are. Zeb is a maverick. He's an individualist. He is a man against nature. And Willa is into community. She's into rehabilitating nature. She's into moving forward in a much more inclusive manner. She's into diversity. And did I already say community? I think so. Yeah. And so those two things, as I went back in, once I saw that I had the pieces there, then that's again where the invention came in. And I went, oh, I've got these pieces. They were pretty vague in the first draft. And I thought, well, I can really begin to pull these out and make them more meaningful. Not driving a point. I don't want to drive a point, but I actually want people to have questions after they read the book rather than answers. And so I sort of tried to weave it in a way that would provoke questioning, provoke internal and external questioning in the reader. And for the family pieces, a family is just such a complex and beautiful thing. And we read so much about dysfunctional families, but I mean, of course, everyone knows that every family is dysfunctional. And I didn't want to focus, I mean, certainly the dysfunctional aspects are there, but I didn't want to focus on the dysfunctional aspects. I wanted to function on the love that somehow weaves its way underneath all that mess. And emotionally, I hope that that's what comes through in the novel as far as the family goes. You've got the daughter and the mother relationship, and that becomes very complex. I don't want to put any spoilers out there, but that becomes very complex, although it's based in love. And then you've got the same thing with the brother, where the brother and sister, where it's a very complex relationship, and you could call it dysfunctional. In fact, it is. But we tend to focus on dysfunction in our culture a little bit right now, and I really wanted to focus on the love that weaves that together.
That sounds great. We'd like to invite our readers to join us at the Trib Talk this Friday at 12:15 to discuss this novel, Theft. And if anyone has any questions or comments, please post them on our Facebook page, which is Facebook.com/Utah Lit. We've been really excited to talk to BK Loren and to feature her book this month and in our paper on Sunday, and that story will be online as well. Thanks for joining us, BK.
Thank you so much. It was great.